Alright, I believe this is part 2 or 3 of the new series of the King Quad 700. This one's going to be more of an update than a working video because it's kind of Easter and, I have things to do today. But I can give you a quick update just to move things along. Painted the plastics olive drab green. Got the star like I said I would. Painted the racks, as you can tell, flat black, or kind of a semi-gloss, but it's supposed to be flat. Back plastic. Cleaned up the wiring some because it had a lot of sketchiness. Replaced this rear diff. Replaced the seals. Because the ones it came with were alright, but I put new seals on it just because. Bought the extra expensive oil to put in there. Replaced that axle. Replaced both sets of wheel bearings and all the seals, so they're nice and tight now, no noise. Redid the boots and the grease on this axle. It'll probably break sometime, but it doesn't have any clickage to it. What else? Fixed that bolt on the exhaust, at least the top one. It doesn't line up like it's supposed to. It's aftermarket and it's not even close. I think it's actually upside down. But it gets the job done. Moving on from there, I got to rig up a battery. I have one, but it's not really strong enough to turn this motor over. It takes a lot. I'm going to change the oil. I'll do that in a video so y'all can see how to do that. It's got a screw-on filter, which is nice. I still got to rig up snorkels for the whole thing. Change the oil, put in the proper grade of oil and see if it still smokes. If it does, I'm going to probably end up changing out, rebuilding the motor. But that requires money, which I don't have much of right now. So, as for right now, this is how the project's going to stand. I've got oil in a filter there. Maybe if I get time off this week, which is highly unlikely. But when and if I get time off, I'll change the oil, put a battery in here, see how she runs. I actually haven't even driven it yet. I had so many snafus with the wiring. Because all the wiring in here is like super brittle for some reason. All these connectors had corrosion in them. It's bad. Like all these little things, they're all corroded. They don't want to work. Had a bunch of blown fuses. Because for the longest time, I could not get the fuel pump to run. I have it bypassed to where it thinks it has fuel in it. Even though it still shows empty, the fuel injection light doesn't blink anymore, which is nice. But with the battery being so weak, the one I had in there, it wouldn't turn it over. And then it got to the point to where the battery was just so bad, it wouldn't even, run a fuel pump. So I got another battery off of one of my other projects I have that was sitting in storage. Got it on the trickle charger. And hopefully it'll be good enough, to get this thing to start. I did clean the fuel system out all the way up to here. The fuel injector inlet. This is I guess what you would call your common rail. Even though it's only one fuel injector on it. Cleared all the codes. For some reason my port here, it does not work. Because you're supposed to be able to jump it with the jumper wire and it pull up your manufacturer codes up on the display. And it don't work. You can try it any way you want, it doesn't work. So, there's that. What else? Still need to clean up the front half. I painted most of the front bumper, but I still have to do the other side. I'd like to possibly relocate the radiator, but that's not super important. I got all these hoses to rerun and snorkel and everything, all these vent lines. But that's one thing for a later time. I'll possibly be redoing the front diff too, because I noticed there's leakage there. Here's one of the other parts. There's a piece that goes yonder. But that's about it. Oh, I missed one. Didn't even think about it. I still gotta do that one. I may leave it the way it is, match the racks. I'm going to repaint the rims since they're, you know, fading. But this is your update on the 700 project. As I said, it'll probably be a while until I can get around to working on this thing anymore, just because I am very short on time, especially in the next week and so. Because this Tuesday I'm hauling a load of dirt and spreading it for somebody. This following weekend, a friend of mine's getting married, so I'm going to be dealing with that. You know, hanging around helping them out. So maybe next week, if I get some time, I'll work on this. I know I still got to shoot another video on, let's see, changing the oil, at least in the front diff. Should have shot a video on how to change the oil in the back one, but I forgot to. I'll show you what I put in there. Because supposedly it's the same thing for both Suzuki and Kawasaki. This is what you're supposed to use, because Kawasaki has the same rear end where it has the built-in clutches for the brake. So this is what they told me to use. Get a price on that stuff for one bottle of it. $12. It's ridiculous. But it better do good. At least I know this rear end is good. All the bearings are tight and the seals are good. I didn't shoot a video on how to do the seals. They're not really quite a home gamer kind of thing. You can do them, but it requires a lot of work and some specialized tools, because they're pressed in and they have a retaining ring and everything. The gist of it is I'll probably do a video on the front ones just because, if I get around to it. But the hub's pressed in and the bearings are pressed into the hub. So this bit's pressed into the bearings and the bearings are pressed into this. One from the front, one from the back. Or actually, no, it's one bearing, but it's got two pieces. And it's pressed in from this side, and there's a circlip that holds it in. And then this one's pressed in this way. And then just the force from the axle being bolted through it holds it in place, even though they're in there pretty tight. What I did to get the old ones out is I just beat on them with the socket until they popped out. But, of course, like any extra wore out bearings, here's the races. Here's the ball bearings. Here's the other race. Say it just completely fell apart. You can see how deep the groove is on there. Maybe this one's a little better. Or a little worse, to be specific. There, you see how wore out it is? Not supposed to be like that. Anyway, drove the old ones out to clean the hubs up with some carburetor cleaner and everything. Some brake clean. I went and put the new bearings in the freezer overnight. We have a deep freezer here at work. It goes down like -20 or something like that. And then I took the heat gun and heated up the hub itself, the silver part. Put it in a vise, put the bearing where it's supposed to go, and then took one of these, set it on the bearing, that way it wouldn't, have any specific force on it. Put a bar on this, and then I beat the bearing in with those. And then I did the same thing with that, except I didn't want to heat the bearing because, it's sealed and it's got lubricant in it. So I froze that -20 and I left this room temperature. And I pounded the, the wheel hub into the bearings. And then the seals are super easy. You just hit them gently until they go in. Make sure they don't roll over. Same thing with the seals on that bit. Maybe I think that axle up there clicks a little bit. I'm going to maybe bust it open and see what's going on with the grease in it. But they're actually really easy to work on once you get them out the machine. That's the hardest part. But, yeah, that's about it for today. Hope y'all enjoy the update. I hope to get back to it as soon as I can. yeah, that's about it. Like the channel, comment, rate, subscribe. I'm almost to 100,000 views, which is like awesome. So keep it coming, and I'll try and keep coming with all the videos. You'll have an awesome day.